Hi, I'm Joe Walensky, and I'm the program manager for the UX Writer Conference. And so that's coming up October 6 and 7 everywhere. It's online, so you can attend from anywhere without going anywhere. And we hope you have a lot of fun with it. We have a lot of great speakers, and that's what I'm doing today. One of the fun things I get to do is talk to the presenters that'll be part of our event. And today I'm talking with Jen Schaefer. Hello, Jen. How are you?
Hi, Joe. I'm great. Glad to be with you today.
Well, I'm talking in front of a virtual backdrop for downtown Chicago. I'm actually out in the suburbs visiting some my family members. Where are you talking to us from?
I am in Santa Clara, California. So usually I work at Netflix in Los Gatos. Obviously, we're working from home right now, so my home's in Santa Clara.
All right, yeah, and yeah, definitely been to that area many times, but I think the only time I've been to Los Gatos was a long time ago. I seem to remember it's yeah, well, at least at the time it was kind of like up on a sort of like on a hill, a more kind of relatively quiet part of the area.
That's right. It's really outside of what you think of as the core Silicon Valley. It's on the way to Santa Cruz and the ocean. So not a whole lot of tech companies, which I kind of enjoy.
Yeah, good nice break from that.
Exactly. It feels like you're kind of out of the busyness of it and a little more suburban.
Well, it's great to have you part of the event, and we'll talk about the session that you're going to present in a few minutes. But yeah, I think a good place to start is always if you could just talk a little bit about your background and the type of work that you do.
Sure. So I've been involved in UX writing for about a decade, and my first real UX writing role, of course, we didn't always go by UX writers. I was a copywriter at one point and an editor, but essentially it was, really working to optimize language and digital experiences. So my first official UX writing role came at a little company called Google the better part of a decade ago, and I actually relocated from my home at the time, Seattle, to move down here to kind of the heart of the tech scene to work for Google. At the time, I worked for a part of the business called Google Offers, which was really our answer to Groupon. If you remember when Groupon first came out and the daily deal was all the rage, and so Google launched a product called Google Offers, where we were doing daily deals, and obviously there were a lot of words in these daily deals, and so that was what I did. I worked on just working with designers to present the information and in a way that was really useful and usable, all the UX writing best practices. I would say maybe about 3 years after that first role, content strategy became a big thing in the tech industry, and we became content strategists. And from there, the discipline has just gained momentum, obviously grew tremendously in the 7 years I was at Google. And about a year and a half ago, I made the move to Netflix to manage their emerging content design team. And it's been a very exciting role. We really span all areas of the business. I have a bunch of content designers who really focus on growth or kind of that non-member experience for people who are just learning about and signing up for Netflix all over the world. People who work on what you and I think of the Netflix service on all different platforms. And we have a really interesting area of the business called Studio, where we're focusing on building internal tools for content creators. So all those great Netflix original shows and movies, there's a lot of tools-based innovations we do to create that content. So yeah, it's been a wild ride.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it, and the part you were just talking about is something that that I wouldn't have thought about. But it also must be either frenetic or exciting or whatever the word to be in a company where pretty much probably everybody uses it, in some way, and in the past few months with the pandemic, it's kind of been the center point for a lot of people's regular entertainment. So
very true. Yep, we obviously were in the news a lot, and I just love that more and more people are using the products.
Uh, Is there, I mean, I'm sure you know you have your regular schedules that have always been going on, but is there like any like atmosphere internally that feels different just because of I don't know how much it's being a part of a lot of people's lives now?
Well, I can say, with COVID and a lot more traffic, we have really our first and foremost have not wanted to break anything. So that's priority one is just don't disrupt the service. We know a lot of people are depending on us for entertainment. Um, so really concentrating on not doing anything that might compromise the Netflix experience that you know and love. I would say it's interesting. We've had to make some language updates and optimizations. And, I'll give you one example. We have a bunch of messaging when you're signing up for Netflix talking about all the features that you can take advantage of. And one of them is all about downloading and going and watching. I think we say on a plane, train, or submarine. And we really kind of stepped back and said, do we sound tone deaf talking about watching on the go when all these people are stuck at home right now? And so we made some modifications to that screen just to be a little more sensitive to the times. We've also had to launch a bunch of new messaging around things like dubbing delays and disruptions to the service. So it's been an interesting time to be a content designer.
Well, it's also going to be part of what you're going to talk about at the conference, because you'll be talking about the topic that is titled Customer Call Centers, UX Writer's Secret Weapon. So tell us a little bit about what we can expect to hear from you on that.
Sure. I am really passionate about this topic, and I can tell you when I came to Netflix, one of the biggest revelations for me is how rigorously and robustly we A/B test on the service. Everything you see on the service is sort of tested into. And of course, A/B testing is when you test one or more versions of an experience just to figure out which is performing the best with the actual audience. So it's great in a lot of ways. It tells you what people are doing on the service, but what it's not so good at telling you is why people are doing the things you're doing. You know exactly what they're doing, but a lot of times you don't know really like why they're making the decisions, where they're getting frustrated. And so I had an opportunity not long after I started at Netflix to take my team and visit one of our call centers where all the call center agents sits. We have a really wonderful customer service program at Netflix. It's very large. We pride ourselves on answering all the phone calls that come into our customer service team really, really quickly. We support many different languages. It's a very big effort that we're very proud of, because customer service is obviously so important when people are having trouble with Netflix. And we actually got to travel down as UX content designers, sit side by side with our support agents. We got to listen in on a couple phone calls with permission and really ask them questions about the types of things that they're hearing day in and day out. And it was just a revelation to me, because I would, venture to say that most companies have some sort of a customer support component of some kind. And it was like an aha moment that, wow, if we can sit with the people who are actually talking to our customers about what's going wrong, what they want to see, even listen to what they're calling things so that we can get closer to describing things in the way that people actually talk about them. It's just a hugely impactful experience. So our team spent a day there. We shadowed several agents. We had a couple different times where we could ask questions. We all had our notebooks. We took tons of notes. And it was the start of a relationship I really, make a huge effort to continue today of just keeping in touch with this team. We have a great team called Product Support Operations at Netflix that's meant to be the bridge between customer support and the product team. And so I really try to keep close tabs with that team to see how else we can do better at not only listening to what our customer support team has to say and what they're hearing on the front lines, but also making sure that we're feeding information back as we launch new products and features, and they are in the position of needing to describe them to people. It needs to be a two-way street of information exchange.
Well, it's certainly a valuable area to be familiar with, and so I'm sure people that haven't gotten involved with that yet will find it very interesting, as well as those that do some of that can learn some new techniques from you.
I hope so, yeah. Well, I'll give some ideas for good questions to ask and how you might kick off a relationship, and some of the ways we've been able to make product improvements based on what we're hearing from customer support. And I think it'll just be a really interesting topic to dive into.
Well, in addition to our work lives, we're all having to figure out ways to to adjust for our downtime, and a lot for many of us that ends up being figuring out how we're going to do things within our home life. So any things you have got going on at home that are keeping you busy?
Yes, Joe, I've been doing way too much baking. I need to report, confess. Yeah, just a lot of baking I've been doing at home. I really got into making cakes. Actually, once I could get enough flour to keep up with my baking, and really just perfecting my decorating. I have a 10-year-old daughter, and so it's something we do together. And I've dabbled in some bread making as well. I'm a little intimidated to go the sourdough starter route, although I have some in my fridge right now. But I've been doing a lot of baking of other kinds of breads.
Well, I'm glad you're finding some enjoyment, and I'm sure your daughter appreciates both creating and consuming.
Exactly. Yes, I think the whole family enjoys that hobby.
Well, I appreciate you taking some time to chat with me on this today, and also look forward to seeing you when we do the event in October.
Same here. I'm really looking forward to it.
All right, thanks a lot, Jen. Bye-bye.
Bye.